Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us here today.
Glad to be here. Appreciate it, and thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Just start off here, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and where you come from, and what brought you here.
Well, I'm from a little town called Katy, Texas. We like to think it was a big town back then because we had football and rodeo, and if you could afford both, you knew that was a big town. So, joined the Army in 1996. I knew that I was smart enough to go to college, but I knew I wasn't ready for it. I knew I lacked the discipline to sit down and do things on my own every day. And for me, sitting around twiddling my thumbs was just not something I was mentally or emotionally, like that wasn't something I was going to put together. So I thought joining the Army was the right thing to do. And then I found out, well, you get a GI Bill.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, joining the Army, I literally, I probably passed up a lot of free chicken because I didn't know it was there. And the recruiters probably had a field day with that. So the only thing I really knew, I was going to get a haircut and go in saving $5, you know.
All right, so from there, what did you do with it? What was your MOS over there? What did you do?
Originally, and you and I had a chance to talk about this over the phone, growing up, ADHD, the Army doctor said you will never serve in combat arms, so they put me in supply and logistics, and I was not a happy person about that at all. But, you know, after I did my tour, you know, no disciplinary problems or anything like that, got out, and 9/11 happened, and I wanted to come back in, but at the time they were saying, hey, we've got 17-year-olds beating down our door, and right now you're already over like 21,
Right.
you're an E4, and it would cost us this much money. So tell you what, stay in the National Guard, and if they call you up, great. If they don't, that's fine too, and they never called up. But in 2009, heard about the troop surge, came back in as a Cav Scout. So I got the job I had always wanted when I was stationed at Fort Hood, walking around seeing the Cav guys with their Stetsons on and their spurs, and man, that was the life for me. And I never got to do it until I came back in, and I was really happy about that. So that was my second MOS. Yep.
Gotcha. Well, what kind of influence did you have in your life to get you to do the military, choose the Army?
Well, I actually have. My mom is the youngest of 14 kids.
14.
14 kids, and I think like 6 or 7 of our uncles have been of age to serve between World War II and Korea. So we always heard stories and stuff, not directly from them, but somebody else would tell a story about them. Oh yeah, he did this, he did that. You know, he drove a truck and he was airborne and whatever it was. So there was always the seed, I think, was there. And I think like a lot of things, when you hear it from somebody you know, like, and trust, it makes you interested. But I can remember in 1994 being at a family reunion, and my cousin was talking about doing psyops down in Haiti. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. You know, that sounds like a good day at the beach, man. So let me sign up. You know, how do I get to do this job? And I think that was really, between those stories and all of those inspirations, I think that's where it came from.
I gotcha. What about any deployments?
Not a specific deployment, although I've been overseas several times. Most notably was serving overseas in Korea. That's not gonna. That story doesn't go the way you think it does. It's a different kind of story because I could tell you that it was my first duty station. And the day before I left, being from, you know, Katy, Texas, where it was 78 degrees outside, and I was laying in the backyard, just young high school kid, bathing suit, just getting a suntan, right? And the very next day it was 38 degrees outside, and I showed up in a white t-shirt and some, you know, Wranglers and some boots and a Stetson. I was doggone cold. It was very, very cold over there, but that's not actually the most memorable part of the story. The most memorable part was that the day I landed, a North Korean submarine beached on a South Korean shore, and everybody inside it was dead.
Whoa.
They all took their own lives. And so the entire country was on alert, and you knew the minute you landed, and they were hustling you off that plane, get your shit, let's go. You were in a totally different world, and you were in a totally different environment, and welcome to it. So I don't think most people expect that when they hear, oh, you served in Korea, that's nice. It wasn't during the Korean War. It wasn't during the Iraqi War. It was, oh, you served in Korea, check a box, right? So I feel like sometimes telling that experience, you can still just in your mind get off the bus and get off the plane and just hear everybody yelling and screaming, we're going to war, is what everybody thought that was going to happen next. Some other unique events that happened there, talking about PSYOPs, was being over there, being in the field. One of the most interesting things was that we spent over 4 months that year in the field, just freezing for no good reason. You're just out there just being cold because that's what training's like, right? We woke up one morning and our entire FTX, like our camp, was littered in propaganda. The North Koreans then, and this was in 97, then had sent a drone and flew over our camp and dropped leaflets all over us. All of these leaflets promoting the new president, Kim Jong, whatever, Kim Jong-il? Yeah, I think it was Il, yeah. And it had like this biography of all of his records of achievements and everything. And I just felt like I still have that today, by the way. Yes. I'll be more than happy to share that with you. I have that flyer today. And it blows my mind every time I look back and I think about that, because there were a lot of different one-off events that happened that year that really made that year very memorable. And just a different space, because the next space I stepped into after all of that was coming back, Fort Hood, and then ETS out, and then go to college. And I think when you go to college and you've had those types of experiences, you don't really talk to 18-year-old, 17-year-old freshmen in your class in the same way. I'm like, you know what? I'm 22 years old, and you and I are just not having the same kind of conversation. We're just two different people. So, Anyway, that's a little bit about all that.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way it is. It's the biggest thing we've noticed is veterans need other veterans to understand each other.
True.
Especially at that age, at 22, like you said, 18 years old, it's already at that stage where people who are supposed to be your peers cannot possibly understand what you went through.
No. And how much worse for the girls and guys that went to like Iraq or Afghanistan or anything. How do you even come back and relate? I get it. What happens in the barracks probably looks a lot like what's happening in a dorm room or a fraternity house or any other communal space. But at the end of the night, when you go to bed, you're going to bed in a different kind of space. Guys,
things that people take for granted.
They would sneak up on me and just see who could get the closest or something, and like I'd wake up and catch them, And to them it sounded funny, but to me it was just not the same,
Exactly. Well, speaking of ETS, what was that transition like? Was it just the end and you decided not to re-up, or you said, yep, I have something else on the outside?
Well, I told you the ADHD thing.
Yeah.
And I told you about being in logistics, and I didn't think, based on that experience, that the Army was really for me. I did not want to be a logistics guy. As much as I thought, okay, I wasn't ready for college. I needed the discipline. I'm going to go in and get some discipline and a free haircut. Never forget the haircut, right?
I did it twice.
But getting out, I just went straight into college. So it didn't feel like a transition the way we have it today. These programs back then were not very well developed.
Truth.
Today, you've got a lot of resources out there. You've got so many resources out there. In fact, it can probably be overwhelming for people getting out today. You're like, oh, there's so many things out there for you to do A, B, C, and D. How am I going to make that decision? Most people do best when they only have 2 or 3 choices to make.
Yeah.
You throw 20 resources out there, and I can feel how that would be daunting for somebody.
It's kind of what we're noticing now here, right,
yeah.
in Pinellas County.
If you're in a very military-centric, friendly environment and space and whatnot, like if you're in San Antonio, DC, Colorado, or Tampa Bay, Military Bay, USA, I feel like you're probably going to have some of that experience, feeling overwhelmed by it all.
That's the truth.
But mine, second time getting out, coming off of active duty, was in the middle of COVID.
Ugh.
And that was different because I was stationed in California. I was there for over 18 months. We got extended there because of COVID. The whole place was locked down.
Yep.
Couldn't do anything except try to get back to Florida, like get back to a free state as quickly as possible. Like you couldn't go to the PX. The PX was shut down. You had to go at a designated time. So E4, E1 to E4, you had this time, you had to be in uniform. By rank, your spouse couldn't go for you. So if you didn't pick it up, or he or she, whoever your spouse is, didn't give you the good shopping list, if you went willy-nilly, you're probably going to have a bad day at the grocery store. But it wasn't like they had anything anyway. The shelves were empty, you know, so you kind of had this like, all right, I'm only allowed to go from A to B, and the shelves are empty anyway. You kind of have like, I think this is probably what Moscow felt like in '86, you know, in '89 or something, you know, and, you know, empty shelves, right? And total shutdown of the economy. So the transition to leave California and come here was just, it was like, all right, I'll take deep breaths. Everything's going to be okay now.
You're
I have
home.
a governor.
You have a governor.
So, yeah.
God bless you, DeSantis.
Right.
So, and as of now, what is it that you're doing right now? You're actually head of the U.S. Patriot Chamber of Commerce, right?
I am. So by profession, I'm a financial advisor. I got into that because during COVID, since we were completely locked down anyway, the one thing you could do was play the stock market. And we doubled our assets and had a very, very good year. And so friends were like, how'd you do that? Can you do that for me? And so didn't understand what a financial advisor was yet, but I was like, yeah, go buy this, do it this way, yada, yada, yada. We all started making money, having a good day, and decided to make a career out of that. But a lot of my first clients were military. And when they got out, struggling to find careers and do things, creating an avenue for them to not just get a career, but to get there and succeed in their career. That actually became the goal. Because a couple of my clients, great people, great military people, but transitioning mentally into that private sector mindset was not the most immediate success they found. People were so willing to hire them and say, you were a veteran, I'll hire that guy, I'll hire that girl. But once they showed up and you figured out, all right, well, this is different because the only thing they care about is what am I going to do for them next? Right. What's my next big trip going to be? And the military doesn't work that way.
No.
If you've noticed, it's not competitive in the same way.
Right.
We're very competitive people.
Extremely. But
this is a very different kind of competition. And so I wanted to create a space where I didn't have to readjust their portfolios all over again because they only lasted 3, 4, 5, or 6 months in a job. So the Chamber of Commerce, the idea of it was, we're going to be a resource for you so that you're going to go find whatever job you get, but while you're there, learning to be this other individual, and I say it that way because it's important. When you get out of the Army as a colonel, you were always a colonel.
Yeah.
You show up for day one, colonel may have got you the job, but that 06 doesn't matter one iota on day two. Day one, it's important. Day two, it's what have you done yet? That's the only thing that matters now. And helping people make that mental transition that your rank doesn't matter out here is a very, very difficult conversation. It matters, how are you bringing value to this mission today?
Right.
And, you know, we partnered up with a group called the Leadership Institute.
The Leadership Institute?
It's called just Leadership Institute.
Leadership Institute.
They're out of DC. And, you know, they kind of like to pride themselves on helping people get the most difficult jobs in the world. Chris Hayes is a fantastic guy. We also partnered with a lady named Patty Catter. She's got a media enterprise with like over 1 million followers. She does great things. She's just a huge, tremendous supporter of veterans, and they both are. So the two of them helped me put this thing on together, and it was my very first event. And I didn't know what my left and right looked like. I had no idea how this was going to come out in the end, but it came out really, really well. So we're going to do another one. And we're going to make it bigger and better. And I think every iteration of this, you know, you do the AAR right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows how that goes.
Yeah.
And you just make it a better product next year, because I think in September the 14th or 12th, that's Saturday, we're going to host another one. And I think somebody's going to be asking me, okay, Raj, what'd you do better this time? Like, all right, your rank got you, your military career got you to do this thing, but they're going to ask me the same thing. How did you make this product better the second time around?
What have you done for me lately?
Exactly. What have you done for me lately? And so this is the challenge we're getting into right now. We had great sponsorship with the hotels in Ybor City and everything the first time around. I think the second time we're going to take them to St. Pete, Treasure Island, Madeira. That way, if you want to get a hotel overnight and just make it a good weekend, let's have a great day at the beach, right?
That's awesome.
So it's all going to be bigger and better this time around. And that's really what the whole chamber, what it does and what it's about. It's not just facilitating, here's a space, you'll learn how the private sector wants it done. I learned that. The feedback from our first event was, why didn't you have more military people up there speaking? I can do that everywhere.
Yeah.
I want you to get from the private sector people who don't have day one experience in the military. They have no idea what your situation is like. They're not here to teach you how to be a veteran. They're here to teach you how to be private sector. Go learn from the experts who do that job and do it that way. That's what I wanted them to learn out of this, and I think we're going to keep it that way. Because we got feedback, everybody said it was really good, but other feedback said, well, we should have led with veterans, or we should have been more consistent with veterans. And I think I was like, well, what am I, chopped liver? Yeah. Like, I'm a veteran too, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted them to get that private sector mindset going, because that's what they need to succeed out there every day.
Right.
They need that guy's mentality, that girl's mentality. So that's how we are. That's how we got here.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that the birth child of your own? Did you come up with that? I mean, that's...
It evolved.
Yeah.
I first thought of it as a Chamber of Commerce in November of 2022. A big part of it was because I heard a lot of people talking about elections and stuff, but most of my clients were small business owners. And I noticed that most of them were very, very quiet. Okay. And it's like, we'll let the money do the talking. Yeah. And that's kind of how it is. And if you're an owner of a small business, so I wanted to reach them with this product and help veterans get into that space, because I thought there was like this like-mindedness. Yeah. It wasn't just all the chitter chatter over here. You thought of quiet professionals. Probably not like me, I'm too chatty, right? But you thought of quiet professionals, and I thought of all these professionals out there doing their job every day, showing up quietly, putting in hard work, and making their business work, and feeding not just their families, but families of people that work for them. And it really started right there, was if I was going to partner a veteran with anybody, I'd want it to be them.
Nice. And
that's kind of where it came from. Found advisors, first of all, Mayor David Will, Mayor John Hendricks, and Hush Gavahe, Nick Fiorentino. These were amazing people that stepped up immediately and gave me a lot of advice that I knew I was going to need to get started. And I'll be really honest with you, I'm still rookie level. I'm still Bush League, and it's so bad that and I don't want to say bad, because it's going really good.
Well, if you're Bush League entry level, then the future of this organization is all right then.
It's all right. And the reason I think is because what happened was they helped me identify people with talent. So we brought, Katie knows, like Amanda Leffler and some other people and stuff. So we brought in Amanda, we brought in Jamie Jodoin, and we brought in a handful of people that are just amazing individuals who have a lot of other talents that we knew would fill out this team.
Great.
So with them together, we formed a board. And really, I like to say, so as much as I kind of do this, they kind of level things back out a little bit, keeping me on track and making sure the ADHD doesn't take over, I guess,
That's what we all have nowadays.
Yeah.
ADHD here too.
Right.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, where do you see, are you trying to get to go a national chapter?
Yes.
Are you going with that?
So we've had people approach us with brilliant ideas. They're like, take this national.
Yeah.
All right. I'm bush league. Tell me what that looks like. I don't know. So what my idea right now is, and this is what I've talked about with the board, and I run all these decisions by them. I said, like, this is what we want to do. What can we do, right? The idea is, let's build out Florida. Let's create something that's reproducible. We'll build out Florida. We'll build out Tampa Bay. We'll branch Tampa Bay into by county. And once we've achieved this goal right here, we're going to do the same thing in Orlando. We're going to do the same thing in other places. I don't want to give away the answers to the test or tell the enemy where I'm moving next. But, we're going to reproduce this. And once we have state level organization, then we're going to go direct to a national organization. So it's going to come up like this, step by step. Prove each step along the way. Create that national product, and then use the national brand to just quickly as possible rinse and repeat everywhere we can go. And obviously we're going to hit the big markets. That's not going to be a big secret. You're going to San Antonio, you're going to Colorado, you're going to DC, you're going to where the veterans are, and where there's a large enough market space to make it successful at the same time. So one thing I did learn in college with the degree in marketing is go to where the money's at.
Truth.
Money follows people, right? And money makes this thing possible. So put it all in the same place. That's the model that we have for growth right now.
That's outstanding. The work you're doing for the veterans is outstanding. So, especially veteran-owned businesses, that's a big thing. So where can they find you when it comes to that? How can they?
So the website is easy, just patriotchamber.org. Try to keep it as simple as possible. No challenges there. The biggest challenge is that I run a lot of the website, and when I'm gone, so most recently, because I'm still in the National Guard, I've been gone for 2 months doing back-to-back rotations at JRTC, where if you've been there, you already know you're not going to get phone reception in the field out there. It's just, so keeping the calendar updated and stuff. I need to get on there. We need to update the calendar, make things work. But yeah, that's where we are. We also have the Facebook page. Pretty much anyone you go to, whether it's Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, just go to the / and then type in Patriot Chamber. You're in a good place. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot you're still in the National Guard, right?
Yeah.
I forgot about that part.
Yep, I'm still in.
How many more before you're out?
Well, I got it. So came back in for the troop surge. I got out because they didn't call my number, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not going anywhere. So got out, but then I heard about troop surge in 09, and by 010, by 10, I was back in, came back in as a CAF scout. Love that work. It's crawling through the mud. It's doing everything you ever wanted to do, right? Great job, but I just fell in love with the dynamics of it. The National Guard is a different animal completely.
Sure is.
Your active duty, look, until you get some rank, you're most likely to go to a different duty station every 2 to 3 years. That's a fact. The National Guard, you could stay in the same seat, in the same slot for 20 years.
Yes.
We didn't show up for rank, pay, or anything else. There's some benefits, no doubt. And Florida has Florida, Texas, Tennessee. I mean, you've got the benefits, right? But the reason you stay in is because these are the same people that you're going to school with, you're going to barbecues with. And when a hurricane hits Florida, they're the first people you're going to check on their house. How's your family? How's your kids? Can I send a police car out there to take care of them? Because you're here. You're here next to me, and I'm the guy that gets to push a button to send a patrol car and help out a family member, and they are family. That's what makes the National Guard so different.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing that makes it different is when you see the National Guard show up overseas, and we brought all those hometown skills. We've got electricians, plumbers. We're not just all combat arms. And we show up, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the party house over here, because they've got everything, like, they're connected, speakers and everything else.
Yes.
They brought the big screen TV. If not, they just made one.
Truth. That's the truth. I remember that's another story.
Yeah, it's just a totally different vibe.
It is.
And when you get down with that whole "we are family" feeling, you just decide you're not getting out. You just decide to stay, and that's how I'm still in. I guess is because you just love that feeling,
If it was for the National Guard, I don't know if I would have actually stayed the full term.
Yeah.
I retired as a National Guardsman.
Yes, sir.
That was the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So that's awesome work. Listen, I appreciate all your time here. This was fantastic to talk with you about this. I want to thank you personally for your service and your bravery and for what you're doing to the community, especially, and helping all the other veterans out.